Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Vivid Voices podcast. Today, we are in our season 4, episode 1. We're finally in season 4 since the day we started this project. Now, season 4 will be covering things within the leadership talk type of topic. And in this episode 1, our topic would be lead and you will find you. As a leader myself, I always wondered upon what if there are no leadership in this world? What would happen? I've actually wondered about that once. And when I pondered upon it, I realized everything that existed on this earth could collapse. What I mean is, leadership is not just one in the office. In fact, there are so many great leaders around me who may not even look like your typical standing on top of the mountain, carrying flags type of leader. I have leaders that encourages me to be compassionate, like my mother. There are also leaders who taught me how to be patient, like my father. And I also have leaders, examples around me, which shows me how to be just a kind person, like my friends around me. So I'm hoping for us to dig into lead and you shall find you within these 3 topics. But first, let me introduce our 3 key speaker. Speaker number 1 would be Francis. Hello, Francis. Would you be able to say hi?
Hi there, Francis here.
Hello, Francis. Thank you so much for joining us. Let me introduce our second speaker. That would be Kirsty. Hi, Kirsty, all the way from the UK. How are you doing today, Kirsty?
Doing fine. Thanks, Hani.
Awesome. Thank you so much for finally being able to join us because it has been a while, right? And Kirsty has been planning the right time to actually join us, and she finally gets to join us. Thank you, Kirsty, for being here. And our final speaker would be our guest speaker. That will be Mary's Liu. Hello, Mary's.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining us. Now, I have wonderful questions to ask all of you here tonight, but we'll revolve around our speakers first. Perhaps the first question I'd like to impose it towards Kirsty. So, Kirsty,
Yeah.
being such an intelligent young lady, so independent at your age, going into studies that most people wouldn't want to go to, yet you're far away from your family. So, Kirsty, can I ask you, when you hear the word leadership, what's exactly the first image or memories that you had in mind? Are there any specific figure that you considered as a leadership hero?
Oh, this is a very fun. This is a question that I actually had before because when we have to apply for like internships, they ask us this kind of question where do we have anybody we admire as a leader? I did have one because I remember attending this like, when you're year 11 and you want to figure out. So in Brunei, we have this BIBD has this kind of event called the BIBDS. And it was founded by this gentleman, Sean Hoon. I'm not sure if any of people here knows, but in Brunei, I think he's quite known because he's doing all this kind of event. People determine, like, helps young people kind of know what they want to do in the future. In a sense, giving for young people. And I remember at that time, when you're year 11, it's mostly like, oh, just go and study and get on with life, go to your A levels. But by going to the event, I kind of understand like it isn't just about like studying, but also like learning others' perspective and trying new things. But also like the way he leads, he will always, initiate conversation with us and try to understand what we are thinking, young people, in a sense that he's not trying to brush off like, oh, what you're thinking is like not necessary, or like, he's always here to accept everyone's kind of opinions. And I think that's one thing I learned from him, is in the sense that you have to be, able to adapt to different people's like communication styles. So of course there was a lot of shy people during the event. He go and talk to every single student. I've never seen such a person go to different student groups and just like ask them like, what do you think about the event? What do you think about the future of jobs? Do you think that you going into this job, do you have a plan of how you want to execute things? So it's like, what I learned is, in the sense that when you lead people, yes, you tell them to do whatever, whatever the task to achieve an objective, but it's also very important how you get them on your side. You need them to kind of trust you. You need them to kind of relate to you, so they are open to sharing things with you. So that is definitely, if I were to say who is the person that I admire in terms of leadership, it's probably him. I'm not sure if he still remember what he did 5 years ago, because that was a long time ago he did that event, but he gave a very lasting impression in me. So definitely, if he's listening to this podcast, hope he knows that he inspired somebody.
That's amazing, Kirsty. And I'm sure he has inspired so many people. But what I gather from that is the qualities of a leadership hero, right? Someone who could communicate. It's not exactly a name of a person or a very specific, all the way to, I know there's a lot of people who are like, oh yeah, my hero is Steve Jobs. My hero is Jeff Bezos. Of course, no harm done if it is, they are incredible human being on earth, right? But usually all these people, they have these kind of leadership qualities that honestly anyone possesses too, right? We have the communication skill, being able to communicate with another person, and the fact that they leave a lasting impression. Now that's amazing. So I always believe that when we do things on earth, we try our best to do the best we could. And one of these days, 10, 20 years down the road, a younger version of Kirsty comes in and say, hey, Kirsty left an impressive, lasting impression towards me. She has inspired me. Like, that is something I always believed in. Now, I'm going to move on to Francis, right? Francis, I believe that leadership doesn't necessarily sound loud. Leadership could honestly sound like anything. Leadership could sound moderate. Leadership could have honestly no sound at all. Or leadership could also be total silence. Francis, would you let us know what kind of leadership that you've experienced, and which kind of leadership actually gave you a lasting impression?
Thank you so much, Hani. Hi, everyone. My name is Francis, and I would like to tell you about this kind of leadership that comes in the form of a story. All right. So, when I was young, and before that, I would like to show you this small pouch. This is actually my mother's coin pouch. So when I was young, I asked her if she still had it, and she told me, yes. But most of the time, it was empty, except now it's not. And let me clarify, I actually did not steal it from her. I did ask for her permission for this. And because I may work in a bank, I still have a clean record. And I used to think it was just a simple pouch. And turns out, this simple pouch itself is a masterclass in leadership. You see, I used to think that leadership is all about being fearless, charismatic, and perfect. Like some kind of motivational Marvel superhero. Like Iron Man himself. But let's be real, No one even called me to save the world anytime soon, right? Okay, so instead, life kept putting me in leadership roles I never asked for. And my first experience was when I was in high school as a school prefect. But honestly speaking, I was far from ready. Anxiety keep on creeping in as I try to act out my duty. Because I know I'm not that confident self. And I felt like a total fraud, but with a label. So I keep complaining to my parents, especially to my mom. Why are people keep on asking me to lead when I'm not that kind of person? And do you know what my mom said? She started it off with a story. Let us all go back and imagine we are in a rural high school nestled in a quiet town of Bau, situated in Sarawak, but it is in the 1970s. And my mom was chosen as a class monitor. And just like me, except perhaps less whining. She was the class monitor not because of her being very loud, because I know she's very loud. It was because of how she stood for what was right. So one day, in her class, she told a group of boys, "Please, clean up the classroom, it's all dirty." And try to guess, my friends, what did they actually do? They stabbed her with a knife. Yeah, leadership was a dangerous job back in the 1970s. And honestly, I'm not sure I'm actually ready to sign up for that kind of responsibility just yet, even now in 2025. And later, after her high school, she was actually offered to, to be trained as a police inspector. So if she do take on that job, she would get power, pension, and as well as pride. As you see, she was a child number 4 out of 10 siblings. And she thought of her family in the village. If she left, who would send money back home? So she gave up her dream to be a police inspector and became an ama, or maid, in Miri. So she worked for a family with children whom they have everything in the world. So when the kids are eating, especially when they ate chicken meat, you know what she got? Bones. So when the family went out for dinner or for supper, and when they came home, they came empty-handed. And she stayed hungry. And with her tiny wish, with her pouch just like this, she managed to buy 10 5-cent buns, equivalent to 50 cents. And she sat behind the house, ate quietly before going back to work. And with those meager wage, she sent money back home because she wasn't just a sister, she was a responsible sister. And still, every time I asked her how she could go through all of this, she would just smile and just tell me, "Don't worry, be happy." And years later, after her ordeal as a maid, she saw an opportunity to work as a clerk. Even though she had no formal qualification, she only had grit. So step by step, she climbed from clerk to section head of admin and finance at Salkra, a statutory body in Sarawak. So from eating bones to managing budgets, still smiling, still saying, "Don't worry, be happy." So my friends, as I reflected on my mother's journey at that point of time, I realized something profound actually. That leadership is not about having all the answers in the world. It is about being the steady force and when no one is watching. It is about sacrifice, not for herself, but for the greater good, for her family. It's about showing up when things needed to be done, especially when she was a school monitor. And I discovered something else too, my friends. Leadership is not something you get, it's something you give to people around you. And because of that, through her story, I discovered my story as a leader. And to testify that I'm actually a banking services manager in a local bank in Limbang, in which I hold steadfast on her teaching of don't worry, be happy. Because her words does not mean that life is easy. It actually means that you are allowed to fail, you are allowed to cry, and you are allowed to have a bad moment. But you rise anyway, with joy, with strength, with love. And that is leadership. Comes in the form of a story. And that is actually from my mom. That's all from me, Hani. Thank you.
That's amazing. Your mom sounded like she has huge superpower. And I like what you said earlier. You said that leadership is, in a different manner that I'd like to say. Leadership didn't just ask something from your mom, right? It actually gave her something. And if I may add, it sounded like she has one fun life. It sounds like she had a lot of adventures. In today's world, I feel like I work more. I don't know about Francis, Kirsty, and Mary's, but I feel like in today's world, I'm working a lot more than I'm actually having any adventures. Though I very determined that I do not want to be stabbed. I'm pretty sure I don't want to be stabbed, but that is, in fact, a wonderful adventure. If your mom were to be a Toastmaster today, I bet she have great stories to share. Now, that leads me to this particular point of view. Leadership doesn't come short of conflict, right? Leadership is all about conflict. In fact, one of the hardest thing to do is to handle people. I have people coming into my office and telling me they rather deal with machines than people. And I think from all of our guests here, you either dealt with people or you probably had an opportunity to deal with people. And I believe dealing with my washing machine is so much easier than dealing with another person if I were to ask them to wash my laundry, right? So that being said, I'm going to ask the third question to Mary's. Mary's, now leadership usually reveals itself like how we would handle conflict. Do you have a moment where you resolve conflict that has taught you something profound about yourself? Like, what did you discover? Is it value? Is it patience? Is it discovering where your blind spots are through that experience? Would you be able to share with us that, Mary?
Thank you, Hani. Good evening to fellow Toastmasters and guests. For most of us, conflict is just like an uninvited guest at a party. When these uninvited guests hit on the party, it can make the surroundings, and we can call it the environment, is very awkward and we'll feel very uncomfortable. But here's the thing. How we handle the conflict makes all the difference. So as a leader, it's very important on how and the ways how we handle the conflict in our workspace. And sometimes we know that conflict is just a simply disagreements between an individuals or a group of people. And this disagreement can actually come from misunderstanding, different values, clashing of communication styles, or sometimes it can be something silly just like assumptions. But as a leader, if you manage to handle conflict very well, it can actually help us to create opportunities for a clearer communication, a stronger teamwork, and a better relationship. I want to share a life story that just happened a couple of weeks ago at my workplace. It's about person A started to whispering about person B, and this person C joined in the story by adding some spices, raising up the whole story. I wasn't in the story, so I tell myself, not my monkeys, so I don't bother about them. So our cycle, our routine going on as usual. But I could feel that the workplace is I can feel the silent glaze and the emotional weight of working on eggshells, and somehow the productivity of the whole teamwork is not there. And I tell myself, that is not what I want as a leader. So I step in and I want to see what I can do. So I apply the strategies that I have learned from Toastmaster project. The first one is to clarify the conflict. So I gather them for a meeting, not to argue, but just to talk. And I frame that this meeting is nothing to do with confrontations, but just to understand the whole stories. And second thing is to being an active listener. So throughout, when they share what is actually going on from the very beginning, as a leader, have to be an active listener, to listen carefully and focus on each part of the stories. And then from there, we focus on to re-clarify what is the things that, or I can say, what thing is going on from which part of the story. And the last part is to negotiate on what are the solutions that we can use, so that to resolve all the tension among the teamwork. Eventually, the strategies I use help me to resolve the tension. Not only that, the strategies also help me to build the framework, the foundations at my workplace, and to clear up the communications and to build a better relationship between the team. And what I can say is, after everything is solved, I can see that the team is actually a lot better than before. And as a leader, it's very important because we help to clear up the misunderstanding between them. And I found out I am actually a leader who has passion more than I can thought, where it is just an opportunity for me to grow and also to do realignment among my team. And this experience also helped me to grow into a more grounded leader, where someone who are not afraid of tension, but I can turn the challenge to become a progress. So fellow Toastmaster, as a leader, I would say it's very important for us to build connections over division. Back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary, as well. And you gave us quite a lot of like golden nuggets over there. And I like a couple of things that you mentioned. Like conflict is like walking on a shell, on an eggshell, so brittle, right? Things could go wrong at any time. And what I learn and gather from that, you do have strategies that you can employ for conflict. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you have been having facing a lot of conflicts, don't be afraid of it. That's the only thing I could advise out there. Don't be afraid of conflict. In fact, it is uncomfortable in the beginning, but if you have been addressing those conflicts and potential conflicts, you'll get comfortable with it, and you will be able to break through a lot of the other things that may disrupt the day-to-day's activities. Now, whatever the conflicts are, you perhaps could employ Mary's strategies. So thank you so much, Mary, for that sharing earlier on. Now, for those of you who are currently still listening, that was actually the first portion of this podcast, which is why they were speaking a little bit longer than usual. Now, after this, I'll be asking more of us to share a couple of things before I go back to our speakers. And we have a lot of guests tonight. I want to give more people opportunity to address their point of view. Okay, so let's go into the second portion. Now, in this second portion, I'd like to pivot more towards the moments where you transform. Now, I'm sure everyone had a leadership opportunity one way or another in their lives, right? And I'm sure one way or another it transformed you or you've learned something from it. I'd love to hear that. I'm wondering if Tish is listening. Hi, Tish. Are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, Tish. Now the question is going to be for you. Now, Tish, like I said earlier, I want to pivot towards moments where you realize you've transformed. Are you able to share with us stories that only because you took on a leadership role, doesn't matter how big it is, doesn't matter how small it is as well, but any type of leadership role where only because you go through that situation, you've discovered a superpower that you never knew you had. Can you share with us that story?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess it's probably not the most traditional sense of leadership, but very recently, within the last 6 months, I was going through a lot of health issues. I was getting very overweight to the point where it was taking control of my life, affecting my opportunities, limiting my, I guess, like work opportunities and whatnot. So I guess in the sense of leadership, I took control like of my own life in the sense that I decided to do something maybe a little bit controversial, just completely uproot my life in Melbourne, move to Kuching where, luckily I have some family to stay with, and just completely transform my whole lifestyle in order to give myself, I guess, a second chance at life. And in that sense, when we're talking about superpowers, I feel like I did something that I physically, emotionally, mentally did not think that I could do, which was overcome this massive barrier in my life. Since then, I've now lost I don't know, about 40 kilos in like 4 or 5 months. And look, the journey is not over yet, but in terms of, I guess, giving myself a superpower, I think giving myself a second chance at life and taking control of, my, I guess, living. I say living with quotation marks because it wasn't really living what I was doing in Melbourne. It was probably just dying slowly, actually. But yeah, I will probably just stop it there. That's my superpower, is that giving myself second chance at life.
Wow, Tish, that's amazing, and you touched my heart. And thank you so much for being vulnerable with us. Just for your information, ladies and gentlemen, I actually interviewed Tish not too long ago, and if you'd like to watch that footage, it is on my social media page. It is on my TikTok actually. It's not on my Instagram. It is on my TikTok where I've shared about how much she's transformed. If you want to know and see that and watch that, you can go ahead and watch. Thank you so much, Tish, for that insight. Yes, the best part of leadership is actually you giving yourself another chance. And realizing you are that particular leader would actually transform your life fully. Wonderful, Tish.
Thanks.
Okay, I see ET out from the shadows of his avatar, believing that he's ready to answer a question. So ET, as our constant guest, never stop coming to the meeting. I want to dig into your heart for a bit. I want to see when did you had a self-discovery where you realize, I'm not the same person I was before I led. right? That was the moment when you realize, oh, I'm not the same person before I led this team or this family. Can you tell us that story, Elias? Make us cry.
Am I audible, visible before I start?
Very, very much. Yes.
Okay, good, yes. Once upon a time, there was a boy that is so shy that this boy cannot even talk to girls. He adored the girl so much. He tried to talk to her, to ask for lunch together, to have a dinner together, and well, you know it. The answer is always get rejection. And this boy indulged himself on the library just to read books, how to understand women. And yes, you know the result it is. Even he read the book, he cannot even understand women. Women is too complicated to this boy. And this boy decided to ask for his parents' advice. His parents said to him, boy, son, I do believe that you have the courage to ask the girl that you want. But this is not the time. When it is a time, it is a time. And yes, that's the story of the little boy who are now being a man. The name is Ilios. Hi, I'm the boy from the story. And yes, this boy still have no courage to ask girls out. But yes, at least he has the courage to introduce himself, to ask the girls at least their name, their number, and start the conversation first. This is still a progress, right? Even though it is not a big gap progress, but small steps to open her heart. Well, the bigger question is, who is ready to be open to this point? Back to you, Hani.
Elias, you make me laugh. And not only that, your mission to understand women by reading is profound. That is, in fact, a very leadership way to try to understand another human being called women. But you know, the trying part is something that we definitely considered as one of the best leadership experience, right, Elias? Either way, don't give up, keep doing it, and you know what? You're right. If you don't ask, you don't know. Speaking of, if you don't ask, you don't know, I'm going to ask Kirsty. Now, Kirsty,
Yes.
you being in the UK is all about pushing yourself out of the comfort zone. I gotta ask, Kirsty. It's been a couple of months now, right? You're over there, and you were pushed out of your comfort zone as a leader. I'm calling you a leader because you're alone there. You flew there by yourself, and that's a leader in my opinion. Did you came out stronger and more self-aware, or did it went the opposite?
Well, in the UK, I would say it's more about traveling alone that really made me much more independent, because I realized that when as somebody, if you're going alone and you have nobody like your family to look after you, you realize that you have to think things through. You have to think your consequence, like your action actually affect whatever is gonna happen later on. So it's really about like thinking things through and giving yourself some grace, honestly, because when you're doing something new for the first time, there's always gonna be a mistake, and mistakes will always come, but it's how you handle the situation. Like, are you the type who is very calm and find the other solution, or you panic and you call somebody. Either way, you have to experience it in order to come out stronger, I would say. So I'm trying to think of something, honestly. I'm trying to think of something. In terms of leadership. I mean, especially whenever we have group projects, you realize that different people have a certain way of doing things that you may not really like. And then sometimes you may say something and then they can kind of brush it off and then you feel like you're neglected. But at the end of the day, the purpose of being in a group is that you contribute and you do your job and that is it. You don't think too much. So it's really knowing how to handle a situation with many people, especially when you are traveling with friends, because that's when the conflict, so maybe your friend is bringing her sister along and you're living in a place which, you rent a very cheap hotel and it's already at that point where it's like everybody's breaking down, or you're tired, and situation look desperate, but how are you going to stand strong in that trip? Because at the end of the day, you have to at least be a little bit positive. Otherwise, it really drain the whole group's energy. So yeah, I think university definitely puts you in different situations where you have to work with different people, not just in group projects, but traveling and know how to deal with people. Yeah, definitely is a game-changing experience. Certainly teach me how to deal with my friends.
You know, I realized Kirsty connected the dots while she was answering that question. And that's the best part about reflection towards leadership. Sometimes you don't realize that the things you do every single day is leadership. Things like when your friends ask you where to eat today, and no one can answer where exactly do they want to eat. Now, someone gotta be a leader enough that says like, you know what, let me decide on behalf of everybody because we only have like 1 hour before the break ends, right? So I saw that Christy's face and they're like, oh yeah, now I see it. Now I see what I'm talking about. But Christy, that's like a big part of leadership. In my opinion, it doesn't have to be like a very formal needing to work together. In fact, just being able to see each other is all about leadership. Okay, I'd like to call another guest. All right, let's see whether Asno is there.
Yes, I'm here.
Asno, would you like to share with us? Are you convenient to speak, Asno?
Yes, I'm on the road, but I can speak. Yeah.
Okay. Why not you settle down first before I'll call you back? I'll give you a chance to come back when you're ready. You just let me know in the chat, right? Because I don't want you to be driving.
No. I'm a passenger, but yeah, I'm on the road to Betong from Simanggang. Yeah. So I'm still listening. I can talk.
Okay, cool. Right. So I shall ask you the question, Asno. Asno is another moments of transformation. Asno is also like Kirsty, like a student. Has any experience, by the way, had ever broken you open? Has any leadership experience had ever broken you open? Emotionally, spiritually, mentally, and then did it rebuild you or did it not rebuild? So Asno, would you be able to share with us within the 1 to 2 minutes time?
Yes. So it begins when I was in the Azam Toastmaster Speakers Club, the young soul for the mini version of the club. So as I have been elected as a committee member, as a top committee member, as a vice president number 1, I took the responsibility to administer all the activities and participation. I need to force myself in order to participate more, to develop more, and to grow more. one thing that I saw, model that I would like to share is Hani herself. You know, when she's speaking, she could turn herself into thousands of persona, meaning that she could be a flexible leader. And I believe that to be a leader, I learned, I grow more. To be a leader is a definition of yin and yang itself. You need to be sometimes become a bridge in order to clear any misunderstanding. You need to be a good public relation personality, and sometimes you need to be stern. You need to be firm. Ya Allah, you need to be. Sorry, so many. Yeah, so many distraction. But yeah, you need to be a yin yang definition yourself in order to find which personality that you fit most. But the thing that I learned from Toastmasters Speaking Club is that you can become flexible in order to improve yourself and bring yourself into a more firm, stable, and more collected. What do you say? Yeah lah, stable in mind. Yeah, like Hani herself. Yeah, I really want to switch 1 second like that. Different kind of leader. Yeah, I'm trying to learn that now. Yeah. So that's all from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Asno, for that. Really a big compliments, and thank you so much for using me as an example. I am flattered, honestly speaking. But as it is, leadership is a growing competencies. As
Hani, how are you, Hani?
Hi, I know
It's
who
me,
is on that
Habib.
line.
It's
Hi,
me,
Habib.
It's me, Taufik, friend.
It seems like I have a lot of fans on the other side.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening, guys. And I bet you everyone is laughing over the other side because they did not realize how amazing is Asno's reflection ability. And that is not an easy task to do, especially when you're in the midst of growing your own personality. So well done, Asno, for your point of view. I'm gonna go back to Francis. Francis, now your mother made me realize that she has amazing adventures throughout her life. Being stabbed is one of the things I did not expect to hear from this meeting. Francis, would you be able to let me know, or let us know, in fact, your inner strength? What would be your inner strength that you think is different than others, that you truly believe, that you are confident about it 100%, that is your inner strength? It could be something that we're aware about, or it could be something that you're unaware about. Now, if you're still thinking about it, then think about what your friends always tell you what you possess. Share us about that a little bit.
Thank you so much, Hani. I was actually taken aback by that question itself because I do not really have the time to actually think and reflect on it. But I was told before that I'm a reflective kind of a leader. I am a person that is able to reflect before saying out things or even acting upon it. This was back in my church youth ministry back in Kuching a few years ago, where I was given the opportunity to actually lead a group of youngsters that are interested in dance and drama, and the occasional gossiping group there by the youth ministry itself. I had the opportunity to lead these young people, in which I have to oversee their growth as a youngster. And the only way that I could actually go through it all is to reflect on my action and also the actions of everyone. Because these people are the ones that will go and approach you and ask you about advice. Be it maybe advice about girls like Ilios, or maybe advice about how to be a greater persona, just like Arsenal just now. Some people would actually ask about how they can actually grow in faith because everyone has different view of faith itself. And that's when they told me, and my leaders as well, that I have the affinity to actually be able to understand people, be it their mood, their facial structure as well, and their body language. And that actually helps me to reflect further on what to advise and what to share to them. And that is my strength in itself as a leader that I possess. Thank you, Hani. That's all from me.
Hey, thank you, Francis. If you haven't been reflecting all this while, this was the prompt for you to start reflecting because leadership is all about reflecting the things you've done, which is why human being has the nature of regretting things or remembering things or feeling secondhand embarrassment throughout what decision have you been making, right? And that's all a part of the process. It will help you to move further. Okay, I will go back to Kirsty. Right, Kirsty?
Yes.
I'm going to ask you about hope.
Okay.
What do you hope for others or yourself to discover when you choose to lead? You are in the midst of the process of leading or experiencing leadership. Like, for example, right now you're the vice president of public relations in this club, right, Kirsty? And
Yeah.
you chose to lead. In fact, you chose that particular position. I'd like to know, what did you actually hope to discover when you took on the role?
It's more like trying to make myself believe that I can actually do it. I don't actually believe I can actually do university while doing this podcast for some reason. I think because yeah, I actually thought like give me a second. I collect thoughts.
And no worries about it.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, what were you expecting to learn coming out of the particular role, like VPPR, for example? What were you expecting to get out of it?
In my honest opinion, I was expecting to collaborate more with the community members here because I think based on my previous experiences, I was the president for the Vivid Voices Toastmasters Club before we have our podcast. It was almost a bit like a one-man operation. I got to be honest. If at that time there wasn't a lot of group members, and I feel like I have to carries a lot of burden to make sure the club still sustain itself. It was a bit like me telling you to do this and you do that, or like me have to oversee everything to make sure it goes smoothly. And I didn't like that experience because it was really very stressful because it felt like nobody was having my back that time. I'm so sorry if Constant or like whoever was there back then, but they can tell it was to the point that I have to tell myself I have to stop. I cannot keep continuing doing this. Until when Hani suggested to me that she wanted to do this podcasting, I knew that, I didn't want to repeat whatever happened back then. I didn't want to lead, but I wanted to just contribute. And I just wanted everybody to have their own role and, not being like a one-man operation, but more like we are all in it for together. Like we're all in it for the same purpose. And I'm so glad season 4 we still maintain that kind of like relationship because everyone wants to see it succeed. But then I think at that time when I was being the president, I wanted to succeed, but I didn't have anybody who's, have the same vision. But in this podcast, it seems like those who stays and those who stays contribute. So I definitely appreciate that.
Wow, Kirsty, that's amazing reflection. Like you bring up a couple of things. One being a vision needs to be supported. Number two, you did mention about you want to be a part of a contributor, a supporter in this community. I absolutely love that. You know why? Because by being a supporter, you are leading. See, when we
Yeah.
started this podcast, right, I wouldn't be able to do it alone. In fact, I think I will drown if I were to be doing it alone. But you know, we slowly gather more members. We have people like Francis coming in, people like what do you call that? Audrey came in, people like Faisal came in. And I'm sure it will grow a lot more. People like Hanan coming in. We're from literally all over the world. And we came in because we shared a similar vision. And that's a leadership. That's leadership. Leadership is about contributing, supporting in what you can. And that itself is a good enough superpower. Now we're coming towards the end of the podcast session. Just for your information, that's the portion that we're upload on YouTube. Okay, but don't go just yet, because after this we do have our evaluation session. Just that's not going to be uploaded on our YouTube channel. I'd like to call upon perhaps a guest to answer the last question. Now, I'm just wondering whether if Joanna is here and is convenient to speak. Hello, Joanna.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being here, Joanna. Now, the last question, I'll do the honor to pass it over to you, because I think all our speakers had their super shared. And my final question for tonight's topic. Joanna.
Yes.
How has your idea of leadership evolved over the years? What has it taught you about you? It's not about other people, but what has it taught you about you, Joanna?
Thank you very much, Hani, for that question. I think for me, leadership is about learning about myself. As I grow up in this Toastmaster journey, this community, I never thought that want to change anyone, want to let anyone join me as a leader. But I think that when I mingle around with others leader, when I have meet other people, I learn something from them. And I think that when like let's say like Hani, I follow you for your term. So I see how you do, and it's good that the certain things that you did well, like how you lead the team. So I say, oh, this thing I can learn. So when I like it, I'll put inside my dictionary that okay, I want to practice on this, like leadership, like how to lead people, how to talk to people. And all over the time, I think this changed me little by little. So people now will tell me like, hey Joanna, you speak differently. Joanna, last time you are not like this. But myself, I didn't aware that I did change that much until people tell me that I'm differently. So I believe that leadership is just that we willing to learn. That's the first thing. Second thing is willing to share. Because what we learn, if we didn't share and people didn't know, then how we want to know that what we learn is good or not, or true or not, or is it applicable to other people. And the last one is like always what we learn in Toastmaster, we evaluate. We not only evaluate other people, we evaluate ourselves. What we did correctly or what we did wrong. I think as a leader, we are not dictator. We are in a multi-race community. So to understand other people, to respect other people is also one key element that we need as a leader. So if you ask me what I learned most about myself, I think is that I learn from others. I also share and also evaluate myself as a leader. Thank you very much, Hani.
Thank you, Joanna, for sharing that. And I think you're absolutely right. A big part of being a leader is that you evaluate yourself. And that will be the hardest pill to swallow because whether or not you accept that, it's honestly all up to you. So I shall conclude this podcast with a grain of salt that I've gotten from all of you that I wrote down in here. Now, leadership is not just a position or title. Leadership is about stories and adventures and the people you impact. Leadership is also about solving certain problems and facing them with dignity and the highest respect you could give to the other person or towards yourself. Leadership also doesn't have to be bold and loud. It also can sound like a silence, or it can also sound like a big cheer behind someone else's ear. And I think we were able to see different perspective of leadership that happens in our daily activities, and it's not just at the workplace but also in every aspect of our lives. I hope the sharing that's been made by all of you and all of the speakers and even myself tonight has brought some light into what leadership can be. That leadership is about discovering yourself, that when you lead, you will discover more of you. So please don't be afraid when it comes to leadership. Do it because you will know you better at the end of it. Thank you, everyone. That is our Vivid Voices podcast. Woo!